second Friday here on Big Blend Radio, we get to interview tourism representatives about their destinations, as well as food, wine, and travel writers, photographers, and bloggers, all who are part of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. And if you're in the industry, I encourage you to go to their website, ifwtwa.org. They're really an amazing network. You could be a winery, you could be the destination, a hotel, a writer, a blogger, and they connect everyone, especially now during the time of COVID. They're doing a lot of webinars and really, really working hard to get everyone working together, and travel's opening up, so now is more important, again, than ever. So I encourage you, again, their website is ifwtwa.org. And our first guest on today's show, we have husband and wine photography writer team, Todd and Sue Montgomery, joining us. They're going to talk about the reopening of Temecula Valley wine country in Southern California, so close to San Diego and Palm Springs and Orange County, LA. Beautiful, beautiful area. And Sue and Todd have been on our show a few times, and Sue, they've had articles in our magazines and also Todd's photography. But you can also follow their adventures on their site. It is life-uncorked.com. So let's start with Sue. Welcome. How are you?
We're great, and we're very happy today in Temecula Valley because our wineries are finally opening up again.
Yay.
Today is the day when officially they can open, and it's been a long, dry spell, though some of us were drinking wine at home, but we prefer to go out to the wineries because if you haven't been here, Temecula is the most beautiful wine country. Honestly, it's just as beautiful as Napa and Sonoma. We have gorgeous rolling hills and vineyards everywhere, beautiful wineries, architecturally beautiful, and fantastic wines, and it's just a very special area and so easily accessible, as you said, from LA and San Diego and all kinds of places. So we are very happy, and I know the wineries are happy, and I think a bit nervous because it's going to be, a new normal here, but it's all happening today, so we're very excited.
Cool. Well, we're glad to have you back on the show to tell us about it, too. It's been a few years since Nancy and I have been out to Temecula. We had a good time at, Thornton Winery, Lorimar Winery, and it is a beautiful area, and I think the wines are pretty fabulous. I know historically, actually one of the earliest wine regions in California. However, of course, Prohibition changed things. But I was reading, I think it was you who sent me, Sue, the information that right now, Temecula is actually celebrating 50 years of winemaking.
Right, at least 50 years since the first vineyards were planted. In 1984, it officially became an AVA, a designated wine region, but it was growing wine and selling wine way before that. Okay. So it's been around a long time, and we now have at least 50 wineries. The number changes all the time. So as a matter of fact, today it's changing again because we're opening a new winery in the valley. But it's been around a long time because it's the most beautiful climate and terroir for growing grapes. It's a very Mediterranean kind of climate. And we have hot days during the grape growing season, and cool nights where close enough to the ocean that the ocean breezes come in, and and we have an elevation too, where generally speaking the vineyards are at about 1,500 feet, and or even higher, and all those factors and the beautiful soil work together to produce some fabulous grapes and wines.
Excellent. Cool. I want to bring Todd back on the show too. Todd, welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here again on the air with you. And I'm going to talk about Bolero. I hope you got me connected.
Yes,
but I do want
Bolero.
to say that you were here, Blog Talk Radio, you were here April 21st, 2017, when you did an interview with Hillary Larson, who's the executive director of IFTWA, and her husband is a winemaker at Callaway. But welcome. Thank you for having us come back, and we're very, very happy to be here. The wine country, as Susan is saying, is growing dramatically. the first, so to speak, official Temecula winery, and started in 1968. But really, they were family affairs and just a place for the gentleman rancher to go. And until the year in the 2000s began, and a building boom in Temecula is taking over. And then the wine country started to get serious in the 2000s, and we can speak from being here in the 1990s, and there was one or two or three wineries to, as Susan's saying, now over 50. And the wine talent has expanded dramatically. Their winemakers are bringing in really great winemakers, graduates of UC Davis, people with a tremendous amount of experience, winemakers from Baja, Mexico, which has got a tremendous wine country in the Guadalupe area. So Temecula is very, very serious. And with the development of Bolero, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit, it's a $150 million project that's taken many, many years to get off the ground. So we're very excited, and we're glad to be here with you again.
This is a good day. I mean, when you think when you think about the middle of June, we're right near summer, and then, everything being closed with the COVID pandemic and now things slowly reopening. I mean, I think everyone, you're saying, Sue, that it's like, yeah, we're drinking wine at home, but, some places didn't even get to do that. I'm just saying, I have friends in South Africa, which they ran out of wine, and that's not fun at all.
Bummer.
No.
But it's not. But being able to open, and I think it's a very scary thing, opening at, you go to launch something, and it's like, hello, sorry, you can't, because we're going to have a pandemic instead. So it kind of changes everyone's plans around. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it has been one good thing during this quarantine that we've had for the last almost 3 months is almost all the wineries were still selling wine, bottles of wine out of their tasting rooms. So you could you could not stay at the wineries and drink the wine, which is part of the pleasure of the whole area, but you could pick up bottles of wine, and they had good deals. So, they were still, and obviously the grapes are growing. I mean, Todd and I a few times just had to get out of the house, and so we got in the car and just drove through the vineyards. And, the grapes don't know anything about the pandemic. They're growing, and they're beautiful. And so that part of the whole wine country has gone on.
Nancy and I learned how to smell the, you say stop and smell the roses. Today is Red Rose Month, Red Rose Day, everybody. So stop and smell the roses and drink some wine. But Nancy and I, the other day in Colorado wine country, we were at Restoration Vineyards, and their Chardonnay was in bloom. And the winemaker, she's like, Gail, have you ever, stopped and smelled the wine blossoms? And we're like, what? No. So she took us out into the vineyards, and they really do have a beautiful scent. So does that happen in Temecula, like where you start to smell the wine or the wine blossoms?
Oh, definitely. I can smell the grapes and the blossoms on the grapes. Yes, definitely.
Earlier
I can smell them right now.
I can smell it, yeah. It seems to be earlier in the morning as the sun is coming up and the dew is drying up. When the balloons start to fly again, and I don't know when that's going to happen, you'll be able to fly over the vineyards and see, thousands of acres of grapes. More vines are being planted every year, and more winemakers are coming in. And when visitors come, it's important to go to more than one place. It's fun that way, and then to meet the owners are very accessible. Most of them are always there, or the general managers, and you hear the history of these wineries, which is they're unique. Some are owned by most of them are owned by people right here in this valley, but some are owned by people who live in Santa Barbara or in one case even India. And of course, the person lives in America now, and his son is running the winery, which is really great. Younger crowd goes there, but
Akash Winery. It's a great winery.
Yeah, Akash, which means the sky.
Mm.
But you'll meet people from all over who are involved in the wine business here. And as I said earlier, it's a very serious business that really took off, I think, in about 2009 or 10. And for the last 10 years has done nothing but improve. The venues are much more accessible. Weddings are a big business, of course. In any of the wine countries in California, everybody wants to get married in a vineyard. But that's the same thing here in Temecula. So when you come, enjoy the experience. It's an experience.
When you talk about Bolero, which is, Spanish themed, obviously with the name, you were saying that it's part of the Europa Village group of wineries. Sue, I know you sent me some information on that. And Todd, so I didn't even know Europa Village. I didn't even know this was like a grouping. So can you give us some background on them, and then kind of give us an overview of Bolero? Because will they do weddings? Will they have a restaurant? That kind of thing.
Yes, I can.
Europa was.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'll just talk about the beginning of Europa, and then Todd is going to tell you about Bolero. Europa has had a French-themed tasting room, and it was actually, I believe, the first winery we joined when we moved here 10 years ago. They have a fantastic staff and ownership, and it's a very friendly, beautiful winery with really nice wines. But their goal has always been to expand and to add a Spanish winery, which they are doing now, and then eventually they have a plan to add an Italian winery and to add hotel rooms and that kind of thing. So this is their first step in a long-planned expansion. Todd, why don't you tell them about Bolero?
Sure. Europa Village and Bolero, the first of the three village wineries that's now complete, is founded by Dan Stevenson, who is really a pioneer in this area, been in the real estate development business and all over the United States for years, and has now decided, well, not now, but for the last 10 years or even longer, putting together this idea of having a French, an Italian, and a Spanish wine village. So you can go from one winery, you can walk from one venue to the other venue, and you can go into an Italian wine cave, and that's currently now built, and then has given the background. What they did is they opened up, as Susan said, this kind of a French-themed beginning, if you will, a winery where people could come and taste the wines of these different areas, and then Bolero began, and now it's completed. And as I said earlier, the whole thing, this whole complex is $150 million. It's a resort, it's a spa, it's boutiques, it's hotel rooms.
Wow.
It's 40 acres right here, but many acres of wine other places owned by Europa to bring the Spanish taste to Temecula in Bolero. So there'll be Spanish themed. There'll be olive oil tastings. There's obviously weddings are very, very important. People can stay in like casitas, private rooms that each one opens out into a nice little patio area. There's restaurants that you can go to, but it's designed to still be intimate and family and small, not some gigantic thing that you get lost in. So that is the focus. When you take a tour, it's like being in a village. So it's just not one gigantic room to drink wine. It's many different venues inside, and there can be anything from entertainment, flamenco guitars, dancing, to a wedding, to a corporate dinner, to a business meeting, to a tour group. And the idea is to kind of get into that realm of enjoying wine as well as the ambiance and the architecture of the old world, in this case in Spain.
I love that.
And we have a good friend who's...
Go ahead, Sue.
Go ahead. I was just going to say we have a good friend, Buzz Seiler, who's done some of the artwork in the new Bolero. The artwork, it just is stunning all over this entire setting. It's just a beautiful experience to walk into their tasting room and their restaurant. It's going to be a real highlight of the wine country.
I think that's the important thing, too, is that it actually goes with the roots of the history of the area, because you're right on the Anza Trail, the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail of, I know that, both of you came out to Yuma, Arizona, and that was one of the famous crossings of Juan Bautista when he led, 200 people who were by foot, and traveled from Mexico through the Tucson area, through Yuma, and then up through Temecula, Hemet, and Anza, and then up to founding the Presidio, which is now San Francisco. And it's this, incredible history to me. And I find that it's important to connect with the roots of the land. And, that was back in, 1776. So here we were becoming America, but at the same time, Juan Bautista's like, dudes, we're taking this for Spain. So a lot of interesting things happen, some not so cool things, but it does tie our Native American culture as well with Spain and Mexico. So I find that's really cool that they're doing a Spanish theme, because it really ties in with the Anza Trail with that.
Well,
even
the name of the town, Temecula, is a Luiseño Indian word that means where the sun breaks through the mist, which is a beautiful thing.
Sun rising through the mist.
Right.
And you see that
it's
almost
beautiful.
every morning here. It's misty and
awesome,
and all of a sudden the sun bursts out. It's a beautiful area.
And the grapes are going.
We specifically chose to live here. We wanted to live here, and we could have gone almost anywhere in the country, and we chose to live here because of the wineries and because of the beauty of the area and a lot of other reasons. But it's worked out to be a good decision for us. We love it.
I want some tapas
and
now.
Bolero. let me add, the sunrise through the mist. As well, the Temecula Valley enjoys the winds from the Pacific Ocean, usually coming through here almost every afternoon. And it's fun to talk about that idea, the winds through the Rainbow Gap to the west. And Bolero happens to be situated on Rancho California, but up the hill, and you can actually enjoy those winds. We're not talking about Santa Ana winds. We're just talking about the ocean breezes. It's not, Bolero's not hidden down somewhere out of the way. It's up front. You can go up to the top, and you can see the valley in front of you, the vineyards around you. You can stay in one of the casitas that they have. Artwork is by Buzz Seiler, our good friend, and it's all over. It's Spanish themed, of course. There's the Europa Inn, which is also part of the property, which has been there for, since we've been here at least, has 10 rooms, and they're always advertising on, another IFTWA members radio program on Saturdays. Andy Harris has a program, and Europa Village, on Europa Inn goes on, and, there's food service, and there'll be more with Bolero, of course. They'll be able to provide fuller menus and so forth. So, the point I'm trying to make is that it's not just a singular experience. It's a multi-experience phenomenon, and you can go back. The next day you can come out for the weekend. You can stay at the Europa Inn or at Bolero, and then you can enjoy a different venue the next morning. And then you can also visit other wineries as well, because they're all very accessible, and it just
and there are
works
other
perfectly.
wineries that have hotels too. There are other wineries with hotels. South Coast is probably the most well known. They've won all kinds of awards with their wineries, with their wines, and they have a beautiful hotel facility. There are various small inns. There's the Ponte Inn. There are a number of places to stay in the wine country, and we need more, and I think there are plans for more.
And what about Pachanga, Sue? Doesn't Pachanga Resort and Casino, that's a resort. And from what I've seen from your posts and other members, IFTWA members and regional, like Hillary and it looks like that is expanding out, like the Pachanga itself, and then you have like the other casinos and Pala nearby, so that kind of connects in too, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think there are a lot of people who stay at Pachanga or Pala and then tour around the wine country. Pachanga, which is opening up again now too, has something like 10 or 12 restaurants, and we've eaten at most of them. They're beautiful restaurants. They're outstanding, and they have a beautiful hotel. I believe it is now the largest casino property in the state of California.
Wow.
And one of the largest in the whole country. I mean, it is huge, but it is really well run. And even if you don't gamble, it's a place to go. It's a destination. There's a lot to do there. They have a golf course and so forth. So if you don't want to stay in the wine country, or if you can't find a room, and that may happen because there aren't that many rooms available here right in the country, you can stay at Pachanga, which is only, what would you say, Todd, 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from the wine country.
10 or 15 minutes. I was going to mention a couple years ago, Lisa, the cooking ladies, which you, I think, may have met. They are from Canada. Right, and they drove all over the United States. They were doing research for a new book, which they published on recipes, and they had an RV. And they parked the RV at Pachanga. And then they had a little mini car, which was attached to the back. And they used that then to travel all over the Temecula Valley region to the different wineries and sample the different foods and venues. I've been trying to get them to come back out because of Bolero, now that experience, and the changes that have taken place over the last 10 years. It's marvelous. Over $1 billion in tourist money was spent in the Temecula Valley last year. So they have reached, that's including everything, but that is unbelievable.
That's amazing.
For this area.
Nancy and I lived in, Julian. You've been up there, up to the little mountain town with us,
we love
years
Julian.
back. We do too, and it's like, when we lived out there, it was, in the late 1900s.
You guys are old.
I'm going back, talk about Juan Bautista. But way back when we started our magazine, we started in 97, and we lived there by 98, 99, we were living in Julian, and we ended up having to move on into, after all the wildfire things and everything. But I remember driving around, back in the print days and delivering magazines, and I remember we used to cover Old Town, Temecula, and I remember Temecula having some, wineries out there. And I mean, some, just kind of like, there was like a little road, and there were some houses, and it was becoming more of a bedroom community than wineries.
Right.
And it was like, it was kind of like a ranching town almost, like kind of like, a little bit out of Ramona.
Yes. Yeah, if you had a horse, you moved to Temecula.
Yeah. Let me just add, though, on that topic, very briefly, the ranching town idea. I mean, we're talking about a lot of money and a lot of visitors and great wineries, but still, I will say that there's a very family-oriented orientation, a very friendly, small village orientation to much of Temecula. You can be a cowboy if you'd like, and still you can take horseback riding tours all over the valley. It's zoned so that you have to have places for people to go horseback riding. So you have the ranches that are still here. So even though there's this tremendous growth, you find that you can still find that intimacy. And like Bolero with John Goldsmith, who's the general manager, he's emphasizing that this is not going to become some gigantic bus stop. It's designed so that you remain in an intimate way with your friends. You don't have to wade through crowds and so forth and so on. They want to keep that atmosphere, and I think all the wineries are doing a great job at that. Actually, even though there are bus tours coming through, and and Pachanga is near enough and far enough. It's just about right. Definitely, Pachanga's restaurants are to die for. They're really great. So at any rate, this is Bolero's the place right now that is going to be the hot spot, and hopefully for quite some time to come.
I wanted to touch on, too, because the area is an agricultural region and very dedicated to farm-to-table movement, organic.
Yes.
We've interviewed a lot of farms over the years, and I know Chef Ivan Flowers that comes on our show, he teaches at the Temecula High School there. He teaches a cooking program. And, it's just really interesting to hear how Pachanga's partnered with the kids, and they have like a chef burger thing every year, and the kids help with the toppings, and they work with chefs, and they learn, so there's this still a very, very strong community feel that's going on in the area. But I do want to touch on this, Sue or Todd, the Old Town, to me, was so charming, and, there's tasting rooms and everything, but I remember there was some place with a mechanical bull. I want to know if the mechanical bull still exists, because that's important.
I think that place is still there. It's a country western dance place. It's called, I think it's called Stomp. We went there once when we first moved here. Yes, I think that still exists, and I think it's popular. It's a fun place.
And the Old Town,
before we close down, I did want to talk about some of the different calls now that the wine country has opened up, following the guidelines that have been put forth by the state of California, because it is going to be a different experience for people.
Yeah,
are you there?
Real quick. Yeah. Is Old Town still thriving and still a place for people to go and experience and shop and as part of the whole wine country experience?
Definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
I just wanted to touch on that and give it because I think it's important when communities keep their old Main Street and they have their downtown or because that was a hub back in the day, and when they continue that, it's important for their identity. Obviously, the wineries are part of the identity as well as the farms. But the COVID thing is, Nancy and I have been traveling, and COVID is, everyone, every place is different. We've been through 3 different states now, and each place is different. We even went to an area where they're like, if you came through California, turn around. And we're like, uh-oh.
Yes.
So it was a little, every place is different, but I do see, Nancy, wouldn't you agree, everybody really taking it seriously to make sure their guests are okay and their staff are okay?
Absolutely.
Susan, why don't you tell her? Give her some idea, Susan. Give her some points.
I think most people have heard what the guidelines are, but I did have a discussion yesterday with some people from the Temecula Valley Wine Growers Association, and they've been working very hard on this. And they told me that almost all the wineries are opening again this coming weekend. A few of them have been open for the last 2 weeks, but they had to serve food with their wine. Now that restriction is lifted, and people will be able to go to the wineries and have glasses and tastings of wine. But every winery is a little different. So it depends on the size of the winery and how they want to follow all the procedures. But evidently, they're all generally following the guidelines from the state of California, such as, and these are just some examples, about approximately a 6-foot distancing between groups. However, if you come with a group of friends or family members, you can stay with that group, but it's not the kind of situation where you're going to be running around talking to other groups of people. You're going to stay with your own group. And most of the wineries are requiring you, and I support this totally, to wear a mask when you enter the winery or when you are in a public area of the winery. Then when you sit down, obviously you can take your mask off to drink your wine. Though recently I've seen some masks that have little holes in them where you can stick your straw into the hole. And so, there are ways around that. And then all the wineries will have staff members wearing masks. All of them have sanitizing stations all over their sanitizing tables between visitors. But my advice is to also bring your own hand sanitizer and your wipes too. And there's nothing wrong with taking some extra precautions. And every winery has different hours. They have different requirements. Some of them may be opening early next week. Most of them, I think, are opening today and tomorrow. But you can go to the Temecula Valley Wine Growers Association website, which is Temecula Wines, all one word, plural.org. And on the front page, there is a COVID banner that has all the current procedures, such as the opening hours of individual wineries and the requirements. But they emphasize to me this is constantly changing. It's a very fluid situation as the wineries set up their own procedures and see what works and what doesn't work, and as the state changes its guidelines. So the main message they had, the Wine Growers Association, and I totally agree with this, is please be patient. If you're visiting the wine country, it's a new normal for everyone, not just the guests, but for the staff people. And a number of these wineries have lost staff people over this closing down. People have gone other places, so they're training new staff. And you just have to be patient and understanding, and you'll have a great wine experience. It'll just be maybe a little different than before. And hopefully by the fall we'll be able to go back.
I think
go on, I'm sorry.
I was going to say that is advice for, everyone traveling right now and going out. And even if you're just going to your local store, everybody's running at a different capacity. And they say the fall will be helpful, but there's also kind of the lurking second wave thing of COVID. So it is still there. So
You're right.
It is about being respectful and to everybody being nice to each other and really just kind of realizing everyone's at a different place, and some people are traveling around, so you should be wearing your mask. I know, Nancy, I know you hate your mask, Nancy, but you look pretty good in it, pretty hot. Yeah. It's
who is that mask man?
I know. He was pretty hot, but there is a way of everyone being smart, and also like Nancy and I take our wipes everywhere we go. I mean, being able to travel the last few months has been months. I can't recall how long we've been on. Yeah, it's a month. We've been on the road for a month, and it is about taking your own products and everything. And if you're worried about sanitization, just wipe it down. Wipe the table down or whatever.
There's responsibility for people traveling. You need to take responsibility for yourself and use some common sense. It's really not that big a
common
deal.
Sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Seriously.
And
common sense and wine go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Most of these wineries will also now let you pay electronically, so you don't even have to exchange credit cards. But I know I've been wiping down my credit cards every time I use them anywhere. And I think just a lot of little things like that are going to make the difference in getting rid of this virus.
Yeah.
And we do want it out and gone. And everybody get together. Going out having wine is one of the coolest ways to, friendship and just enjoying some fresh air and some wine. You can't beat that. And the views of Temecula are beautiful. But before you both go, I want to touch on where's next for you both. And also give a shout out to the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, because I know things changed. There was a conference planned for the fall, but they've been doing a lot of webinars. Sue, can you touch on that a little bit? Because it really seems like IFTWA went into high gear to keep everyone connected and moving forward.
Absolutely. IFTWA was fabulous for so many of us during this quarantine. There's a whole group of us who have been Zooming together, travel writers from Southern California, talking about what they're doing, what projects they're working on, how they're coping. And then some of our members, our board members, have created these webinars. And I think I've gone to every one of them. And usually we have like 30 participants. We did one on the San Juan Islands. We did one just last Wednesday on the Rioja wines. And they're educational, they're stimulating, you learn a lot, you make good contacts, and it's been a tremendous service for our members. And we all keep in touch, and we all support each other. Actually, I'm leaving after this interview for La Jolla, meeting some IFTWA members for lunch. And it's been a great camaraderie that's gone on, even though we haven't been able, for the most part, to see each other in person. So, and we're moving forward. I mean, there were trips planned. There were media trips planned that had to be canceled. I was going to go on one to Bellingham. That was canceled. There were a lot of things canceled, understandably. But we'll pick that up again, and people will be moving places, going places soon.
The webinars,
unless it all
Susan,
comes back,
Right. But remind everyone, in the webinars actually have people from the Visitors Convention Bureaus of the various places. So you're getting a lot of, not just writers talking to each other, that you're getting, but you're also getting people who are telling you about what's going on in their various areas of the country. San Juan Islands, for example, the Visitors Convention Bureau people are telling all of us what is coming, so that we know as the country opens up again that there are goals we can go out and try to achieve by visiting the San Juan Islands, for example, or Southern California, or Chicago, or even the cooking ladies in Canada. IFWA writers, it'd be a great experience to go at some future date to Canada to visit Toronto and that area around Lake Erie, and so that's an advantage of IFWA.
I think it's important, and I want to tell everyone next Friday, our July 10th show, we will actually have Barbara from the San Juan Islands on our show, telling us about what's going on there, and also we'll also have a representative from Costa Mesa, California, on the show, and also Stacy Wittig will be back on talking about Thailand.
Oh,
so,
she's great.
It's really cool to do the Pacific Coast and then Thailand. So it is very cool. I mean, we have so much fun on these shows. We get to hear, stories, travel stories from around the world, and it hasn't stopped. Regardless of COVID, it's one of those things you keep going. Sue, so is there wine involved in your lunch in La Jolla? That's important.
Oh, I would imagine. I would imagine. It's hard to imagine a lunch in La Jolla without some wine.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. In closing, I want to know from each of you in Temecula, because you live in the area, and there is so much to see and do. Like we were saying, there's all the wineries, there's hot air balloon festivals. There's a lot of festivals that typically happen. I know a lot will be changing over, time here, but if each of you, and I know you've done this, could you just have a day off, but somebody, your family came knocking on the door and saying, hey, I'm coming to Temecula for the first time and I've got a day off with you, what would you do? So let's start with you, Sue. What would you do? You got a family member saying, I'm here in Temecula. You told me to come. You've been saying this for years. I'm here now. Now what are we going to do for the day?
Well, if it's a family member over 21 years old,
yes.
and we have some family members that are younger than that, but if they've never been here before, well, I certainly think a little tour of Old Town. I call it our cowboy town, but there's some great restaurants down there, and it's just fun to walk up and down the streets. There are actually some wine tasting rooms in Old Town, too. But then we would take them to several wineries. My rule of thumb is 3 wineries in a day is probably enough. So, Europa is one we always go to. One of my new favorite wineries is Botea, which is owned by the Ponte Winery Group. It's usually reservation only. It's a beautiful, peaceful setting, and they have wonderful charcuterie. We love to go to Hart Winery, which is family-owned and very small and beautiful award-winning wines. We love Fazeli, which has Mediterranean cuisine and very interesting wines. I mean, there are so many great places to go. So we talk to who's here and see what kind of wine they like to drink and try to make a decision based on their desires. But just driving around the wine country gets everyone so excited. What about you, Todd? I don't know. Would you go to the same places?
Yeah, if people came out to visit, I would definitely want to start in, you can start in Old Town or end in Old Town, but Old Town has changed, Lisa, because the building has gone on and new restaurants have come in. And these are farm-to-table oriented establishments. These are locally sourced foods. But they're also very ethnic, fabulous Sicilian food, great California fusion food. There's the great hamburgers type place, if you will. So there's lots of places to visit in Old Town. You can buy different foods and lavenders and olive oils.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
so forth. And then you go to the wineries, as Susan said. Hart is your quintessential, very small, friendly kind of winery. It's been one of the oldest in the valley, so you're going to get really well-aged, vines and so forth, and great wines owned by the Hart family. And you're going to go to Europa. You're going to go to Bolero. You're all in Rancho California, so you're going to maybe go to Buena Vista or I never get the name correct, but at any rate, then you'll move over to Di Portola Road, and you'll go to Fazeli's, or even Robert Renzoni, great Italian wines, and he's got fabulous pizzas as well. So you're going to have that kind of experience. If you want to go horseback riding, you can do that. I mean, they've got a lot of different companies that offer that for rides. But
wow.
At any rate, it's a destination place in today's day and age. And so
I like this horse riding from winery to winery
with wine. Yeah.
Yeah, with wine.
There are people that do it.
I'm down.
Do it.
I would do it.
They tie the horses up. Danza del Sol, there's a place they tie up the horses. They go in and sample the wines. They get on the horses and go on to the next winery. Oh,
no
sure.
Way.
Awesome.
Oh, my gosh. See, this is cool because in Colorado, I know that's our next segment coming up here, but in Colorado, everybody's cycling this fruit and wine byway.
Yes.
And they're like, watch out for the cyclists. As a driver, they're telling you, watch out for the cyclists because they're all getting buzzed. And they're cycling. So
here
there's
the
a
horses
few
do not
spills.
drink wine. Right.
I
Horses
know.
do not drink wine. So as long as you can get on, you can go to the next winery.
Yeah, that's it.
How's
Exactly.
that?
If you can get on, that's a good one. And there's limo companies and everything out there too, so you don't have to drive. That's another thing.
Definitely.
There are always transportation places, the venues or not venues, I should say, facilities out there, so you don't need to drink and drive. Nobody wants that. So,
no.
Yeah. Check that out. So I want to give the website again, TemeculaWines.org. Check that out and keep up with Todd and Sue at life-uncorked.com. They're both on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those great places. But always great to have you on the show, Todd and Sue. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, and we wish you would both come visit us in Temecula. We'll show you a great time. So why don't you put it on your itinerary for the next year?
Oh, we did.
I'll bring my horse.
We did have you on the itinerary. We were like, we're going to Southern California, and then let's see what can happen. We were creating this thing of going to Big Bear and Palm Desert and all this, and then the pandemic said no, you're not. And then things changed. So that's the way it happens. But we really do hope to come out and spend time out there. And because I said, the last time we really spent time, it's been a while where we really got out and explored the region. And now I want to go horse riding with wine. So that's a definite. And I want to go to the casino because I haven't done that for a long time. And apparently, I always win. So
yeah, right.
Well, we'll go with you then.
All right, good.
We'll go
Everyone
with you.
again. Also, the International Food, Wine, Travel Rights Association, go to ifwtwa.org. That's why we say IFTWA. Go check them out. I know they've got some great specials also for new members. And, we do this show every second Friday. So thanks for joining us. Enjoy La Jolla, and cheers to you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Great
for having
being
us.
on the
We really enjoyed
radio.
it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Right. Have a great day.